Welcome to the video about Introduction to Investing, first lesson in Unit 8. Let's take a little minute talking about saving. When you are saving, the goal is to have at least 3 to 6 months of expenses in a savings account, and this is supposed to be for emergency situations where you actually have to cover your monthly expenses because you don't have any more income coming in, or even if there's some sort of accident that maybe insurance is not covering as much as you'd hope, and you need that money that has been saved. So again, 3 to 6 months. How you determine if it's 3 months or 6 months is really going to depend on your profession. If you find yourself in a job that is more essential and less likely to be fired or laid off, then you should be good with only 3 months of expenses. However, if you find yourself in a job that is less essential and more likely to be laid off, then 6 months at least of monthly expenses is what you want to save up. And the goal really is to not touch it. You save it and you don't touch it unless there is an emergency. That's what these savings are for. You can save separately for larger purchases like a car or furniture, but this is supposed to be savings that you just keep as just in case someone loses a job. There really is no risk to saving money. You're just not going to be making a lot of money while you are saving, and that's kind of what we're going to be looking at in this lesson. With investing, this is where you're going to be purchasing assets, and this is where you increase the value of your assets over time. And the assets are the valuable things with value. And the goal with this, unlike the savings where it's really just like a nest egg sort of in case of emergencies, this is to pay for your life goals after retirement. Your investment money should be able to turn into your income once you retire, and you can start paying yourself from your investments that you have made. There is an inflation risk with investing, and that's the possibility that the future value will be less than the invested amount due to unanticipated inflation. The moral of the story is with investing is that if you invest $1,000, it's possible that by the time you are ready to take it out, maybe it's only worth $800 and you have lost that value. So that's the risky part with investment. This concept of inflation, just to take a closer look at that, inflation is when there's an increase of prices leading to the fall of purchasing power. And that's kind of honestly what we're in a little bit right now, where things are just starting to cost more, meaning that the value of $1 is getting less. Like you can't get as much for $1 that you used to be able to get 5, 10, 20, 50 years ago. And so that's what inflation is. Now let's compare and contrast saving versus investing. Saving is appropriate for short-term goals, again, in case of emergencies, or you're saving for furniture or whatever that may be, new tires on a car. You make money through interest. It is safe and liquid, and we'll get an official definition on liquid later, but that just means it's easy for you to get your money out. So it's easy to access. It is secure, but it is low on returns, and it may not keep up with inflation. Examples of these sorts of savings account include just a regular savings account, a money market, or a CD. Investing is appropriate for your long-term goals. You make money through the interest, dividends, capital gains, etc. Potential to make lots of money, but it does carry a risk of losing money and losing value that you're putting in. And examples of this include bonds, stocks, mutual funds, index funds, and others. Things to consider with investment, the risk that I've mentioned already is that the potential that your investment may not pay you what you expect it to. Liquidity, again, is how easily you can access your money. The return when it comes to investment refers to the growth or lack thereof of the value of your investment over time. So we'll just discuss, like you have a rate of return, that's the interest rate that you are going to be earning on the money that you invest. It's always good to consider simplicity whenever you are investing, especially if it is not your profession and your professional expertise, is to just never invest in something that you don't understand. You should be able to explain your investments to another person. And so that's very important to make sure you understand where your money is going. At this point, you should be able to check into Canvas and complete the checkpoint assignment. There are 3, I believe, so this would be the first question in the checkpoint. In talking about risk and return, risk affects return in the fact that if you take on more risk by purchasing or investing in smaller companies, there is a higher potential of earning, but it is a potential that you might earn. There is a lower risk with the larger companies. However, because of that, there's a lower potential for return. So you will make more money off of the smaller companies, but it's a higher risk because they are so small. The larger companies have proven themselves successful over time, and so therefore are lower risk, but because of that, they don't have as large of a return on your investment. And this investment philosophy just generally refers to a person's approach to their investment risk, whether or not they follow the taking on more risk or less risk, and when to do each of those as you plan your investments. There is a usual suggestion for an investment philosophy, and that is the longer the time you have to invest, in other words, the younger you start, the more risk you can take. The shorter time you have to invest, in other words, the older that you start, the less risk you can take, which means, again, the less value that you're going to be getting in return. So the younger you start, the more risk you can take, and therefore, hopefully, the more money you can make over the long run. Now, the picture of the roller coaster is just to remember that the investing stock market, it goes up and down like crazy all the time, every couple years, every day, whatever the case may be. The sale of stocks and investments are going up and down. And it's important to remember that the only dangerous part of a roller coaster is to jump off in the middle of the ride. So when the economy is going through a major rift, most of the time the safest bet, especially if you have the time because you invested younger, is to just ride the roller coaster out and get off when it's all said and done. Don't jump off the roller coaster in the middle of that rise or fall. Other factors that go into how much you invest and what sort of investments you make include your age, the values, the sort of companies that you want to be giving your money to, the amount of money that you have to invest, and your goals. Do you plan to work longer through retirement? Do you want to travel? Are you just trying to pay off your house? Whatever that case may be, your goals come into consideration as you decide how to invest. When we talk about lower risk and higher risk companies, this can be categorized into conservative, moderate, and aggressive. Conservative is that investment philosophy is when you take on less risk. This is used when an individual has a short time frame until retirement. So if you're in your 50s and you plan on retiring at 65, you are probably going to need to take more of a conservative route for your investments. Moderate would be taking on some risk, and this is when an individual has a moderate time frame before retirement. Again, maybe someone in their 30s and 40s, late 30s, 40s, that has more time but didn't get started right whenever they entered the workforce. These people would be having a moderate sense of risk. And aggressive is when you're taking on high risk, and this is again whenever you have the most time to ride that roller coaster out. So taking on high risk is when an individual has a long time frame before retirement. So whenever you first get into the workforce and you have that ability and you have maybe some extra income, you can invest it aggressively and hopefully have a high rate of return. Again, with the roller coaster, the conservative, moderate, aggressive, whatever the case may be, it's generally just good to consider the fact that you want to ride the roller coaster and not just jump off when the going gets tough, whenever the economy crashes or rises like crazy. You just want to try to ride it out to make sure your plan for retirement long-term goals are getting met. At this point, you should be able to refer back to that checkpoint assignment in Canvas, and you should be able to complete question 2. Wrapping things up here, portfolio and diversification. Portfolio is when you have a group of financial assets grouped together, may include a variety of investment types. And so stocks, bonds, mutual funds, those are all monetary investments where you're buying things with money that, again, is just kind of like rising and falling with the economy. But investments and assets can also include purchasing of property, real estate, not vehicles so much, those can have value to it. Those aren't normally going to be increasing in value over time, as we discussed in the car loan unit. So investment assets are more going to be in the properties or these stocks, bonds, mutual fund sort of investments. And diversification is the term that refers to the spreading out of your money over different investment types to reduce the risk. Diversification can be nice if you are older in age and you don't have as much time to plan for retirement or save for retirement. Maybe you want to take at least some of your investment money and try to invest it more aggressively on those higher risk, but you don't want to put it all in there. So that's where the diversification can come in. There's a rule of 72, and this is a quick way to roughly estimate how long it will take to double your money. So again, this 72 is very quick in the fact that it's a rough estimate, and all it really tells us is how long it will take to double our money. So in order to figure out how long to take to double your money, you take 72 and you divide that by your interest rate, and that will tell you how long it will take to double your money. No matter what the amount is, the dollar amount is that you're investing, that's how long it would take to double that amount. And you can go in the other direction where if you know how many years that you have that you want to double the money, you divide 72 by the number of years, and that would tell you the interest rate that you need in order to create that goal. So this would be a good example if you were nearing retirement and you said, okay, I only have 15 years to get my amount, the money that I have to double. So what sort of account, what interest rate do I want to find to invest that money that I have to invest? So just a quick example down here. If you expect a 6% return, it will take 12 years to double your money. 72 divided by 6 is 12. Notice here that the 6, even though it's a percent, it stays as a 6 in this quick rule of 72. It is supposed to be a quick way, so we're not dealing with turning the percent into decimal or anything like that. Take the 72, divide by 6, and that's where the 12 years to double your money. And that's if you invested $5, $500, or $500,000. It would take you 12 years to double your money at a 6% return. So if we take a look at these practice problems, in purple, I have the arrow pointing in this direction. So if you have your rate of return, you take 72 divided by your rate, and that would tell you how many years it would take to double. In green, it's going in this direction. If you have 25 years to double, you take the 72 and divide by 25, and that would give you your percent of your interest rate. So purple, if you have your rate of return, divide by, or both of them are 72 divided by the number, you just have to know which way you're going. The only other thing I will add to this for these 3 problems down here is for you to realize that the value or the amount of money that you are investing has no place in this rule of 72. You do not need to know how long it will take to double. You do not need to know how much you're investing to answer how long it will take to double. That is strictly determined by the percentage at which you are investing. So take a minute and pause the video here and try to complete this table and these 3 problems before moving on. All right, hopefully we can check our answers here. Again, the 72 is just being divided by the numbers that we are given. If you divide 72 by 25, you do get 2.88. All you have to do is tack that percent symbol on there. You're not multiplying by 100 or dividing by 100. It is the percent answer. And again, the 10,000, 2,000, and 6,000 do not belong anywhere in the problem in order to answer how many years it will take to double. And I'll draw your attention here to this 3rd problem. $2,000 is a decent investment, especially for those of you that have been having a summer job for a couple years. You probably have $2,000 that you might be able to invest. If you just put it in a savings account, which is generally where the 4.4% interest is, it would take you 180 years to turn that $2,000 into $4,000. 180 years. This is why a savings account is not the best investment over the long term, because of how long it takes you to move forward and earn a return on your money. That completes the introduction to investment. So this is the final checkpoint. Same assignment in Canvas, just the third question. Go ahead and complete that checkpoint. Thank you.